Welcome. You can rest here. You do not have to be perfect to be peaceful. You only have to be willing to soften. Close your eyes. Let your breath be the door. Inhale and feel the world arrive. Exhale and feel the world let you be. There is a place where the sky keeps a river. It does not rush. It does not flood. It moves like a long, kind thought, winding through a blue so deep it remembers the first dawn. Tonight, we will walk beside that river, and you will hear what it says when no one is listening except you. Far from the clock and its tidy promises, past the lists that line up like soldiers and forget why they are marching, there is a path made of quiet dust. A woman follows it, barefoot, unafraid. Her name is anyone who needs it. She has carried days that were heavier than their hours. She has learned to smile while her heart folded and unfolded like a letter. She has come here for something simple, to sit down where her spirit is not a project. At the end of the path, there is neither gate nor guard, only a change in the air, the way a room changes when a window is opened, the way a sea changes when the wind remembers mercy. She steps forward, and the sky opens under her feet, soft as water and firm as trust. The river appears, a ribbon of slow light woven into blue. It greets her without greeting. It simply makes room. She kneels and touches the surface. It is cool, but not cold, steady, but not still. The water moves with her pulse until her pulse moves with the water. For a long moment, nothing must happen. She lets that be the beginning. When thoughts arrive, she does not argue with them. They come in their familiar costumes. What if? If only? Should have. They speak in the voices of old teachers and late-night screens. The river does not correct them. It gives them a place to sit. Every thought that once demanded a verdict now leans its head on the riverbank and rests. A heron lands on a stone and becomes a statue of breath. A cloud unbuttons itself into harmless pieces. The light goes softer at the edges, as if the day is learning how to hold a sleeping child. The woman speaks, though she does not move her mouth. The questions lift like smoke and dissolve. What do I do with the ache that has no location? Where do I put the blame that wears my face? How do I forgive the hour that did not forgive me? The river answers with water, which is to say, with patience. It tells its story the only way it knows, by continuing. You were not made to carry every storm you pass, it says. You were made to be changed by rain and then to dry, to be warmed by morning and cooled by night, to gather and release, to gather and release, until gathering and releasing are the same gesture. The woman lies back, and the sky receives her. Above her, swallows write soft cursive on the blue. Below her, the river writes the translation. You do not need a reason to be gentle with yourself. You were born as a reason. She remembers other waters, a bath drawn by hands that love her, a summer lake that held the moon like a secret, tears that refused to apologize and were therefore holy. Every memory arrives without sharpness and leaves without taking anything. The river gives her back what the day borrowed. Far down the shore, a small house appears, not built, but grown. Planks the color of old tea, windows that have learned the names of winds. A smoke-thin trail rises from a chimney and becomes a line of music. She walks, and the path walks with her. Her steps are slow because slowness fits. When she reaches the door, it opens the way a tide opens, without hinges, without hurry. Inside, the rooms are made of ease. There's a table with one cup on it, and somehow this means there is room for everyone. There is a chair that is practiced holding all day. There is a shelf of silence arranged by height. She does not sit yet. She stands in the middle of the room and lets the quiet collect around her ankles like warm water. On the far wall hangs a mirror that shows no shape, only temperature. She steps before it and watches the red of worry bloom and fade, the cool of surrender lift like dawn fog. Beneath them both, a steady color, the shade of a forest that has survived many summers, announces itself as her baseline. Peace, it says, is not an event. It is your structure. She smiles without deciding to. She sits. She drinks from the cup and it tastes like a memory with the bitterness removed. On the inside of the cup, etched so lightly it could be a reflection, a message waits. Let everything be exactly as it is, for a moment longer than you think you can. She reads it twice and does as asked. Nothing breaks. The moment becomes a room. The room becomes a shore. The door opens and a visitor enters who looks exactly like her, except rested. They do not bow or bless or become myth. They simply share a chair without crowding it. Rested self places her hand over the woman's hand. The touch says what language would overcomplicate. You may stop auditioning for a life that already chose you. The woman exhales and discovers it is the answer. They step outside together, and the river rises to meet them. It carries a small boat. Nothing dramatic, just a cradle carved from old kindness. They climb in, and the boat agrees to be a bed. The current takes them without asking where they want to go. They have never wanted anything so honest. The river passes under arches made of branches. Each arch whispers a different permission. You may change. You may stay. You may be loved while learning both. On the left bank, stones stacked by unknown hands hold their balance. On the right bank, grass practices bowing to wind without mistaking it for defeat. Everywhere there is a lesson that does not call itself a lesson. The woman learns by osmosis. They drift past a field of clocks lying face down in the clover. The clocks tick anyway, but with the softness of rain on an old roof. Time, face down, discovers humility. The minute hand looks up and sees the sky between blades of grass. Even measuring becomes wondering. Further on, the boat enters a wide place where the river slows until it almost remembers being a lake. Here, the air hums the note of belonging. A few other boats float at generous distances. People lie in them with their eyes closed and their mouths unafraid. No one is performing rest. Rest is performing itself. The woman feels the ache that kept asking for definitions. It grows curious instead of loud. It asks fewer questions and listens more to answers that cannot be written down. She places her palm in the water, and the water remembers a story about storms, how they arrive arrogant and leave as names for children, how the trees learn their own spines in the language of wind, how houses and hearts both decide where to be strong. The story ends not with victory, not with loss, but with open windows. Rested self hums, and the boat finds the key. The song is simple and therefore useful. The lyrics are few and therefore true. I am already on the way whenever I stop. They sing it once and then do not need to sing it again. Clouds gather as if to watch. They stand in soft rows, not blocking, only shading. The light lifts its voice but not its volume. The air carries a taste like clean linen. A promise approaches without boasting. Rain. The first drops are polite. They introduce themselves to skin and wood and leaf. The woman laughs, a quiet sound, the sound of furniture when a room is finally used. Rain decides it is welcome and begins to write its long letter on the river. The letter says, let. Let the surface change. Let the underneath remain sure. Let the motion be named comfort. After the rain, the boat feels newly made. Even the rope looks forgiven. They drift until a bend reveals a stone bridge with no road above it. Only air and the idea of crossing. The current takes them through the arch and something lifts from her shoulders. A bird she has been feeding for years without noticing how hungry it made her. It does not fall or fly away. It turns into a feather and becomes a bookmark in the wind. There is a shore ahead and the river suggests stopping. They agree. They step onto land. The land holds steady, as if it has been rehearsing this moment since mountains were ideas. A meadow spreads like a slow thought. In its center stands a tree older than the word old. They lie beneath it without negotiation. The grass puts small commas around their bodies. The breeze edits their sentences into poems. The woman sleeps and does not sink. She floats inside herself and meets the person who never left. This person does not care how neat her calendar looks. This person does not need proof of effort in order to offer tenderness. They speak once. We will be quiet now until quiet is what the world hears from us. The woman nods in sleep, which is the same as waking when consent is involved. When she wakes, the light has changed the way. A choir changes when the altos remember they are important. Everything is deeper, but nothing is heavy. Rested self is nearby, arranging wildflowers into no pattern at all. The bouquet names itself, good enough to be real. They laugh and the tree approves. They walk back to the river along a path that did not exist before and will exist now forever. The boat is waiting with the modesty of furniture. They climb in, and the current offers a direction that feels like yes. The woman does not ask where the river ends. She asks where she starts. The river says, here. She asks where she ends. The river says, here. Two answers, one word, sufficient. Evening arranges itself. The sky ties a ribbon of gold around the horizon and then forgets to remove it. Shadows grow long and then merciful. The first star appears and does not pretend to be more than it is. Its smallness is its sermon. They pass a village where windows practice glowing. A few people sit on stoops holding cups in each other. No one waves, and somehow this is kinder. The world need not always speak to be with you. The river narrows into a conversation and then widens into a listening. Along the bank, candles float in bowls toward a place where bowls become light and light becomes memory. The woman places one in the water and gives it a name she hasn't said aloud in years. The candle does not judge the name. It travels until it becomes a star and then travels more. Night climbs into its own arms. The sky makes room for constellations that map the body without pointing out its faults. The woman breathes, and the boat breathes with her. They arrive at a cove that looks like a held note. They anchor without tying anything down. On the shore stands a small library with no books, only chairs facing the river. She sits in one and finds a letter beneath the cushion. She does not open it because some letters are meant to be kept closed to remain true. She places it in her pocket, which becomes a promise. Rested self steps into the river and is not wet. She walks on the surface as one walks on remembered trust. She turns and offers the woman her hand. The woman rises, and together they stand on the river, like two thoughts that agree. They walk until walking becomes standing, and standing becomes floating, and floating becomes the answer to a question no longer needed. The river speaks again, and because the night is listening, the words are easy. Peace is not the absence of weather. It is the shape you take while it passes. Practice the shape. When the storm forgets your name, remind it gently. When it remembers, bow. They bow, and the water bows back without bending. They return to the boat, and the boat returns them to themselves. Somewhere a bell rings, not to organize anyone, but to bless the lack of organization. The sound travels across the water and folds itself into the necklace of silence around her throat. It is late now, which is another way of saying it is exactly time. They drift toward the house of ease. Its windows catch their names and keep them safe. Inside, the bed is made of aftermath and forgiveness. She lies down, and every sheet is a decision to be gentle. Rested self lies beside her and disappears the way a worry disappears when it discovers it is unnecessary. Before sleep, the woman asks the sky a small question. If I forget this, will it forget me? The sky answers by remaining. She understands. She sleeps. Dreams arrive without costumes. They sit by her and watch the breath do its ancient work. In the dream, she visits the meadow, the bridge, the clocks in clover, the candle that became a star. Each thing returns the piece of her it borrowed to be beautiful. She wakes once to turn her pillow to the cool side of mercy, and then sleeps again, deeper, kinder. At dawn, a word that means opening and is not finished being a verb. The river is exactly where she left it, and also where she will find it next. Morning holds out a bowl of light and asks nothing in exchange. Birds alphabetize the air. The world rehearses being possible. She stands, and the bed becomes a rumor that she once needed to rest and did. She touches the cup, and it fills with water because it has learned to anticipate. Outside, the river gives her back the boat, and the boat gives her back her balance. Rested self stands on the bank and does not come closer. She's become the space in which approach is no longer required. They nod to each other, the nod of mirrors that respect privacy. The woman steps into the day, the way a hand steps into a sleeve that fits. She carries no conclusions, only a practice. When the heart begins to hurry, find a river. If no river is near, breathe once like a tide, twice like forgiveness, 3 times like the memory of rain. If thoughts arrive dressed as judges, give them chairs. If feelings ask for proof, offer them your pulse. If peace seems far, make your body ashore and wait. What is yours knows how to return. She walks the path that is still dust and will always be dust and therefore honest. The sky tidies its stars into a drawer of blue daylight. Somewhere a kettle begins to consider warmth. Somewhere a window opens simply to be open. At the edge where path becomes world, she turns once more to look behind. The river lifts a small wave, a bow, not a goodbye. In it she sees herself the way the river has seen her all along, not as a task, but as water in a different shape. She smiles and the smile becomes weather. It moves through streets and across tables, through crowded rooms and empty kitchens. It hangs in the air like a blessing someone forgot to name. People feel it without seeing it. They breathe easier and do not know why. As the day begins, she carries the boat inside her, light as a pocket, wide as a horizon. Wherever worry tries to anchor, she loosens the rope with that small sufficient word, here. Wherever the hour sharpens, she rounds it with the remembering, gather, release. Wherever the road narrows, she widens her breath and the road follows. And when evening returns like a faith that kept its promise, she knows how to arrive. She knows where to sit. She knows how to open the window between her ribs and let the river through. Rest now. You have walked far without moving. You have learned the name of gentleness in the language of water. You have remembered that peace is not beyond you. It is the shape you make when you stop pretending to be anything else. Breathe in, the world arrives. Breathe out, the world allows. Again and again and again, until again becomes always and always becomes home. Sleep. Gentle heart, the sky keeps a river for you, and it knows your name. Whenever you need it, step in. Whenever you forget, it will remember. The current is kindness. The banks are belonging. The boat is you. The journey is rest. And the destination is exactly where you are.